Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. I am so happy to be here with you this one day of the week. Well, we're currently recording this one day of the week where there is not a single World Cup match happening or going on. And we decided to record today. Like I said, Valer Shabila, Clay Trainum. I'm a little bored, guys. My day has been filled, and normally it's just watching soccer, and now I don't have that, at least today.
That sound you hear is all of our collective employers letting out a deep breath.
Yeah, I'm not bored, and I am actually very much welcoming this day. I'm not gonna lie, even yesterday, it was from the day of recording, that was the Egypt, Argentina, and Switzerland, Colombia games. And I didn't have as much energy with those as I did, I think, earlier in the World Cup. So I very much welcome this one day off, and I'm looking forward to the quarterfinals, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But this is the beauty of a World Cup. This is the beauty of a extended tournament because it feels like we've had nonstop, high level, good soccer for so long. And I'm glad most of those games weren't bad. I think there's been like one or two duds, but overall, anytime you turn on your TV, you're seeing something exciting, especially here in the knockout stages.
Yeah, I think it's weirdly enough been a great advertisement for expanding the World Cup. And I think it's also exposed that the gap, I mean, there's a big gap at the top. I think there's going to be a big gap at the top in any given World Cup from the very best in the world from everyone else. But it exposed that the gap from that second tier down through the tiers is not that big. And that's really exciting. And I mean, it wasn't a great World Cup for the Asian Confederation, unfortunately, Valer, but it is exposing that the confederations that don't get as much, over the top love do have good teams.
Yeah.
And I think that is only a good thing going forward. I mean, we all kind of know that this is eventually going to end up with a 64 team field, and that might start to have a little bit more than the best available when you get out that large. But when you start to think about it, that's including the likes of Italy. And, well, Italy will probably still find a way to miss a World Cup at a 64 team field. But aside from them, it's an interesting thing. And I think that it has exceeded a lot of expectations on the competitiveness. And I think yesterday was a good example of that, where, Argentina got absolutely everything they were looking for against Egypt. And that was a really, really good game.
Well, it's been unfortunate because I feel like obviously there were so many things going on and leading into the World Cup where it made us a lot less excited, right? Then the World Cup started happening, group stages, exciting matches, all this type of stuff. And I feel like it has been really good until I would say now, where it's now taking a dive when it comes to Balogun stuff, which we will talk about in a little bit.
Classic Steven. Once America goes out, the World Cup isn't near as fun.
That's not what I said. I was also going to mention the VAR decisions in that Egypt-Argentina game. It just has been interesting, and I don't know what a 64-team World Cup will be like. Should be fun.
Well, I think there are also for the World Cup specifically. Like I hope it recovers. I think in terms of vibes, the last 2 days of the round of 16 were probably the lowest vibes since the World Cup started.
I would agree.
Obviously, part of that had to do with the U.S. exiting the tournament and the tournament being held in the U.S., but also Mexico exiting and Canada exiting. And then also the VAR and the government interference, all of those kind of attributed to these. And not that like the first few days, the first few weeks were like absolutely flawless of issues. There were issues then too, but just there was so much excitement going on that I think a lot of people, you were able to kind of take the good with the bad to where it just the last 2 days felt very disappointing in general, not just for the U.S., just like literally in general. It just felt a little bit less of a exciting event, and Yeah, go ahead, Clay.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think it's important to remember that there are controversies every single round of the World Cup, and there always have been and there always will be. No one's talked about the end of the Croatia game in a week, but that was a very controversial end of the Croatia game. And what happens is you get fewer teams in, so there's fewer games, and so those controversies have more staying power. And then you get to the end of the World Cup and you forgot what you were talking about, and you get to the next World Cup and you forget the last World Cup had crazy amounts of things going on to it. It's I mean, everyone talks about FIFA is like, one of the worst organizations in the world, and then you kick a ball and no one talks about how FIFA is anymore. And I think that's the way that it works for a lot of these controversies. We don't have to get into the particulars of the US thing. I think things along those lines probably happen more than anyone would like to admit. Maybe not as overt and maybe not as crazy, but things along those lines probably happen more than anyone would like to admit at FIFA. And I will leave it at that.
I also think there are preconceived opinions that people had about this World Cup, being in America, that people were almost waiting for things to happen to just point out and say, this is why I always said this is going to be the worst World Cup ever. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and internet is not real life. So please take this, if you take anything from this episode or from this show at all, internet is not real life. And I went in real life and I saw the World Cup atmospheres and I talked to people from other places in the world and everything. And please just take the fact that internet is not real life. But overall, I do think there were preconceived notions that people carried with them, and some of them were granted, to be fair, but all things considered, I'm looking forward to the quarterfinal. Like I said, by the time you're hearing this, you're probably the day of the quarterfinals starting and quarterfinals, and hopefully we'll get some exciting games. And I don't think anything's going to top last World Cup's final. That just seems insane to
I
me.
don't know if that's possible.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean we can't get a good few games.
I mean, unless it's Argentina, France again.
What if it's Norway, Belgium?
Bruh. I don't even know. But so I talked about it the last episode as well. I went to Croatia, Ghana as a group stage, and then got obsessed with the fact of what that atmosphere and everything was like, and ended up going to France and Paraguay over the weekend, which was great. It was 100. No. Hi, my name is Stephen Robinson. Welcome to this episode of Valare It Out. An podcast within a podcast where I get to valare out my anger and aggression towards things. And this day is that we talk about being banned from FIFA and all of that. I think Paraguay's football federation should be banned for life from football. That is not football. What they played was disgusting. It should not be allowed in the sport. And I had to sit through 115-degree weather in Philadelphia, going through that shenanigans, and I didn't like it.
Steven, are you saying you didn't like Philadelphia? Because I feel like you were really ripping Valare for a similar feeling about the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, here's the thing. No, I'm not blaming the city of Philadelphia. I had fun in Philadelphia.
I always am.
I'm not blaming the people of Philadelphia. I know you are.
I am. I always am.
I know you are, Flair. I know. I actually had a really good time in Philadelphia. There was issues, but I had a great time in Philly. It's a good town. And it was really funny to go to German. I went to a German style beer garden. There was so many Germany jerseys still in Philly that were just sad. So what they did was went to a German beer garden and hung out there. And it was sad and fun to see.
Yeah, you can imagine people already buying because that was the game that Germany was slated for, right? If they had beaten Paraguay.
Yes, the ticket I actually paid for.
So people were probably already had travel plans. That happened a few times. And the funniest one I saw was a group of Bolivian fans at the France-Iraq game, also in Philadelphia, because Bolivia lost Iraq in the playoffs, and it was like, yeah, you were planning ahead. I can see that, but My bad, dog.
But it was cool to see Kylian Mbappe live. Not gonna lie,
It
that
wasn't
was
cool
really
for me. He's really good, and that's just
cool.
I
Cool, man.
yeah, yeah, he's
Appreciate it,
good. But
player.
I see, I will say it was cool to see him, yes, but I just wish he was not as good against us. That's all.
Or he played for Iraq.
Yeah, to be fair, if he played for Iraq, you probably wouldn't see minutes because of the corruption, but it is what it is.
I saw a really funny meme, Clay, and it made me think of you. And then you can go on to your weekend. It was a FIFA statement in regards to it was a fake FIFA statement in regards to UEFA statement against FIFA, but it was really funny. So it was like 3 paragraphs of just normal press speak, but then the bottom paragraph. So the penalty that we are going to take is that we are going to deduct Everton
Yeah.
10 points for the
Yeah.
2026-2027
That's fair.
season.
That's fair. I'm honestly surprised that Everton didn't get a penalty for Southampton cheating.
They should. They
Anyway,
should
all
always
I would
punish
like to say is that my favorite my favorite basketball, my favorite college sports quote of all time is Jerry Tarkanian saying, "The NCAA is so mad at University of Kentucky that they just gave Cleveland State another year of probation." But my weekend was all right. I watched I did watch the U.S. national team game on Monday, which was a bit sad, but at least Lukaku scored, I guess.
By the way, we know that there are a lot of situations that happened with Balogun, red card, all that. We're not talking about any of that. We might mention it, but I have no energy to put into that, and I'm just being honest with everybody here. There are other shows and so many other shows that are talking about that.
Literally
And
another show on our network that
on
probably
our
covered
network,
it
go to
a
Club and
lot
Country.
more.
They will cover it in much better detail, and they will actually talk about it. We're here. We're going to give you some USMNT opinions, but I just want to be clear with you. We're not going to rehash everything that happened. We're not that show. We're not going to be that show. And I
My opinion
strive
is
to not
very
be
clear
that
on my
show going
Twitter,
forward.
and
Yeah, and obviously there was a bunch of discourse in the Discord when it came to conversations surrounding it. There's going to be a lot of opinions, and honestly, most of the opinions are subjective based on the way that
most of them are right in one way or another, and most of them are wrong in one way or another, and we'll leave it at that. But anyway, the U.S. game.
Exactly. I do think it is something to talk about, though, where there was an overall tainting of the match and excitement level of the match that did happen because of the Balogun situation. And that does play, I do believe, somewhat into the USMNT just match itself on Monday.
I think
I think we were looking at this with like almost a lose-lose situation where if the US did win, it's because of corruption, but if they lost, it's because of corruption at the same time. So not great to go into a match with that sort of outlook in comparison to the way the rest of the tournament was going.
I think it put a weird perspective for fans, for the players from both sides, like even Belgium and the US. I think to say it didn't affect that or on pitch stuff is naive. Not to give it as an excuse. I think the US played poorly and they are capable of much better than that. I don't know if they're capable of winning that game. I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't sure going into it, and I'm still not sure if they could. But they definitely didn't put their best foot forward. But I do think the fans had a weird feeling as well going into it. I mean, again, I think I put this out on socials, but it was the weirdest build up to it because all of a sudden that excitement that led to the Bosnia game was gone. And then not only that, but instead of tactical and technical talk and, interviewing Pochettino, listening to country music or whatever, and all those good vibes, all we got is like, oh, the president of the country is calling the president of the federation and blah, 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 and all that. And you can't tell me the players didn't feel that. I mean, I just,
Oh, for sure.
I can't, yeah, like I'm not saying, again, this is not a good excuse for them to not perform, but I'm just saying that it affected them. And
Well,
it,
and
in
even
the same way, it affected the Belgian players. And I think you saw that in their celebrations, whether it was on the pitch or off of it.
well, it even started with Balogun. Like when the announcement came up that Balogun's going to play, dang, I was excited. I'm like, let's go. This is terrific. And then an hour later, you find out why Balogun is playing. It's like, oh, well, this is fun.
Well, I don't think we're not going to go into it. We don't really know what happened. And so it's silly to assume it's one thing or the other because the
Right.
protocol had started before that. But my thing is, putting that all aside, I would be, obviously it does have an effect. It could have ended up with a positive effect, like a siege mentality sort of thing that we've seen from teams in big tournaments. But at the end of the day, and this is the thing that I keep going back to, that wasn't a performance that we haven't seen from the U.S. before. It's a performance that we hadn't seen from the U.S. in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I think what's funny, because we're going to go through our some of our predictions again in the second segment of this episode. The exact question I asked about the predicted U.S.-Belgium game that we had in our preview is, all right, who's going to bottle it first? Belgium in a knockout game or U.S. with a chance of everything to gain? And that was before any of this happened. This is something, unfortunately, that we've seen the U.S. team do in this tournament before. We just haven't seen them do it quite to this extent. And we've seen this U.S. team put in some stinker performances only weeks after looking like world beaters. We've seen that before. This is, unfortunately, it's the nature of also having a young team. And it is what it is. And I think that there are plenty of reasons that game didn't go out right. I don't think that from a tactical standpoint, the U.S. was ready for what hit them. I think that they were kind of lost for the first 25 minutes of that game. And I think we were all surprised when we saw who Belgium put out in the lineup. They'd subbed off Doku and De Bruyne in the previous game, but I think we all would have expected that at least Doku would have played.
Right.
And it wasn't an unfair scoreline. I think the U.S. was very lucky to get to halftime down 1, and they had a brief moment where it looked like they kind of got back into it, and then a very, very, very silly mistake kind of took the game away.
And I think like they've had those performances, including against Belgium, this year.
Yeah, I mean? Yeah, exactly.
This happened this year against the same opposition. That said, I think my biggest sort of disappointment comes from the opportunity lost for what this meant for the USMNT and for the sport in general. And look, I'm not like, the women's team have been great. They are obviously 4-time world champions. There's nothing we can say about this, but about that we can, that I don't want that to sound disrespectful to them. However, from a completely objective standpoint, if the U.S. had beaten Belgium, I think the sport would have lived a moment within mainstream media that it has never lived before. And I truly believe that. Within the U.S., of course. I'm not talking outside the U.S.
It's the largest audience to ever watch a soccer game in the United States.
Right.
I mean, that's the crazy part of it. It's the only numbers as a sporting event that were competing with the U.S. soccer number that it got against Belgium was the NFL playoffs, which are so in a different world in this country when it comes to sports that it's crazy to be even close, much less outperforming NFL playoff games. And so there is a tremendous missed opportunity. Me personally, I was really hoping to see a U.S.-Spain matchup because I don't think enough people remember 2009.
Right.
And U.S. ending, the world's longest winning streak in a Confederations Cup. And I don't think that would have happened, but it would have been a similar situation. And so I was really hoping for that. But, these things happen in a World Cup. Like, even when things are going your way, suddenly they aren't anymore. I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
Yep. And I mean, you look back at it, and at least how I look back at it, and especially why I think the Balogun stuff comes into play a little bit more. I've seen the U.S. make mental mistakes that have led to goals before. I haven't seen it 4 times in one match that led specifically to 4 different goals. And they were all just dumb U.S. mistakes, some of them being worse than other ones. And those dumb mistakes are going to lead to careers being finished for the U.S. men's national team. I guarantee you, Matt Freese is not playing another match again from that
Oh,
one.
oh,
From
I
that,
don't.
He's young. He'll play.
I would actually bet my house he will play again for the U.S. Like,
with the U.S. goalkeeping pool that we do have, you think Matt Freese is
there's
still?
no
I
clear
think the
number
next
one.
friendly the U.S. plays, Matt Freese is going to start that one. Actually, I'll go ahead and give you that. Even
There's
I don't
no clear
think,
number one for U.S. goalkeeping. Like he'll play.
I don't think. I don't think Tim Ream is
You
going to
don't
play
think
again for the
Turner or
US.
Brady are going to be at that same level?
I'm just saying, I think it's ridiculous to say that a 25, 26-year-old goalkeeper is never going to play for the national team where he was the number one at a World Cup. Like, I know he made a mistake. I don't think it's going to be.
And I agree. And I don't.
For him.
And I actually don't think he played the worst match against Belgium. I think he made a couple really good saves against Belgium. I agree with you.
I'm so good at arguing that Steven starts arguing against himself.
I mean, there's no clear number one for goalkeeper. He's going to get his chance to prove himself the same way that Brian Schwacke will probably out of this cycle.
That's what I'm saying. I think
Tim Ream.
I think the goalkeeping pool is deep enough where, Tim Ream. I mean,
Tim Ream will play for the U.S. again.
Yes, he was going to age out.
You're talking about a program that was like starting Zach Steffen 2 years ago still. So I think I don't have an issue with you saying he's going to lose the number one spot. I think that's going to happen, but I don't think he's never going to play again. That's a strong statement to say for somebody who's a number one.
The U.S. hasn't had a clear number one goalkeeper since we started caring about soccer.
True. And gosh, what a time it used to be when we did have a number one goalkeeper throughout all.
We had so many. We had 4 goalkeepers in the Premier League at one point.
And some of them are the highest, have the most appearances for the Premier League for their specific team.
2 of them scored goals.
I think it's going to be a very interesting. I think it's going to be a very interesting post-mortem for a lot of these players. And I think if you look back at it, and even from a media perspective of how it's being covered so far, it's more individualistically than as a system whole, where I think there's going to be a lot of questions about the way Pulisic performed. I think there's going to be a lot of questions about how some of these players go into these matches, where I still think Pochettino is, that contract is still there. If he takes it or not, who knows? It sucks because of the fact of the excitement kind of going into it, and you kind of felt a change in what soccer culture could be like here. Do you still think with the World Cup going on right now, is that still something that's going to continue with the U.S. being out of it? Or did the U.S. being out of it now really take away from it?
I think that once you get more removed from the immediacy of it, you're going to look at it differently. The U.S. wasn't particularly successful at the 1994 World Cup. They won a very, very notable game against Colombia. They advanced, I believe, as a third-place team. And in the wake of that, you had MLS. In the wake of MLS, you had David Beckham. In the wake of all of that, you've now reached a timeline where the World Cup is getting NFL ratings numbers. And so in the immediacy, it feels like a real upsetting thing because the U.S. was in the round of 16 playing at home. There will most likely be another U.S. World Cup in 2038 without them changing rules, but they aren't going to have very many things where they aren't going to have very many opportunities where it lines up to play that type of match at home in front of a home crowd. And you didn't really put out a good performance, and that's going to linger with you. But when this is all said and done, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to look at a World Cup that basically set every record for attendance, set every television record, and will have probably influenced where the sport is in the U.S. from what it is 10 years from now from where it is now. So in that way, it's a hugely, hugely influential, successful event, more likely than not, provided the country still exists in 10 years, I think like we're going to be looking at a pretty formative event in a lot of people's soccer watching minds.
Yeah, I think my disappointment, now obviously if they had at least played well or had a good performance, I think that would have even helped more, accelerate maybe some of the stuff Clay was talking about. Like losing to Belgium, they are a really good team at the end of the day. But I think losing in that manner also affected it. But for me, I am actually mostly disappointed in how low MLS is trying to capitalize on what's going on currently in the country and Canada, to be fair. I think the way that they have handled themselves, the league, has been disappointing. I think a lot of the decisions weren't made strategically to capitalize on this World Cup buzz. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this, the US has more Premier League fans, but the same amount of MLS fans. And that is the most disappointing part for me. And NWSL, to be fair, as well. But I think it's something where the opportunity was there. There should be like MLS commercials in every World Cup games, whether on TV or some sort of MLS presence at World Cup games. There was I saw one table, I think, for Philly Union in Philadelphia from all of my travels. Only one MLS stadium was being used, which is the Toronto Stadium, and even that had barely any mention of Toronto FC. I think obviously there are sponsorship issues, so they can't just slap it. But I think there's an opportunity missed here. They could have changed that calendar thing to where a new season would start a month from now. Imagine that buzz. Imagine the players they could bring in for that. Instead, now we're kind of getting back into a mid-season thing. Players who played in the World Cup are going to be tired. There's just, I don't know. Messi might win the World Cup and say, "Hey, I retire. I'm done." What is MLS going to do then? There's just a lot of these things, and this is probably a whole episode on its own of what MLS could have done better to prepare for this moment. And I do think they will pick up some new fans along the way, but it's, to me, is a really, really big missed opportunity to capitalize on this buzz.
I think that some of this is probably also tied into the fact that the majority rights holder for MLS is Apple, not Fox. And
definitely, yes.
Yeah. So that is a problem. Of course, I would also argue the problem is Fox does have MLS rights and isn't even advertising those. So I do think that there's some legitimate criticism to level at MLS, but I also think they're in a weird spot where people are focusing on the World Cup, and I think what we're going to see in a week from now is we're going to see a pretty large uptick of in-person MLS attendance. Not just coming back. I do agree that I wish the new season setup started a year earlier. I think we all said that the second that they announced the way they were rolling it out. So I think everyone thinks that. So I'm wondering if there might have been some CBA issues on that front that made it hard to figure out. And so, because it doesn't make sense, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, there's a underlying reason why something that doesn't make sense didn't happen on the right schedule. So, but yeah, it's a real missed opportunity for MLS. I do agree on that front.
Well, even with all the missed opportunities and everything going on, we are still set for the quarterfinals starting on Thursday. Well, tomorrow, whenever you're listening, on the 9th of July is when they start. We're going to go through how we did in our predictions, and I don't want to because it's probably not great, but we're going to go through the quarterfinals. We're going to go through these matches that are still available in the World Cup, and then we have MLS to talk about. That's crazy. I'm excited for that. We're going to do all of that next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. We are back here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at Pharma Soccer on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you do want to be a part of the hype, if you have been loving this World Cup, maybe you started listening to our show because you started loving the World Cup and you want to know more about what we do, well, you can at 615soccer.com. Make sure you do spell it all out. We love it. We would love you to be a part of it. Even with this kind of midseason break for the World Cup happening, we've still been covering stuff going on in Nashville. We're going to get you excited for Nashville coming up in the next week or so. Please be a part of what's going on at 615 Soccer. A lot of cool stuff going on there. Of course, pharmaceuticalsoccer.com for all of your merchandise needs.
Pharmasoccer.com.
Pharmasoccer.com. Sorry. Apologies. I've now done this 300 times, and I apparently did not get that one right of the 300 and whatever episode this is. But yeah, pharmasoccer.com for that. Check it out. Also, you can leave us a 5-star review, and we will read it on air. So if you are a new listener and you want to embarrass Claire Valaire,
Or Steven.
I don't know who that is, or Joel or Amari, we will just put a 5-star review out.
Joel or Amari would be hard to get. Like, we'd have to pre-record them in. You know what I mean?
You know what? If we get 5 new reviews, we will make Joel or Amari read one.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Give us, if we get at least 5 5-star reviews, we will make Joel or Amari read one of them. We will pre-record.
And I know both of them have audio setups. So yes, if somebody leaves a 5-star review and wants it to be read, yeah, we'll get it done. So go out, check that out. And yeah, also we're a part of 440 Sports. If you did not know that, super cool stuff going on. So check out Club and Country for more in-depth U.S. men's coverage. Absolutely. They released their episode, I believe, Tuesday after the match. Yeah, Tuesday. So go check that out.
We kind of flip-flop. Usually they come in later in the week, and we're early in the week, but it's a special time. It's the World Cup, baby.
It is the World Cup, baby. And speaking of the World Cup, the quarterfinals are set. And us at Pharmaceutical Soccer, we're 100% with our predictions. That's a lie, if you did not know.
I don't think we did particularly bad. Now, we did really well in the group stage. We got 26 of 32. That's really good.
That is good.
Our quarterfinals, now given the matchups change a little bit because of the third place thing, so it was hard to get them bang on. But the quarterfinalists that we predicted were France, Brazil, Spain, U.S., Japan, England, Argentina, Switzerland. There's a couple of those that I'm pretty proud of us getting. So
the fact that we did get Switzerland actually making it is kind of, especially against Colombia with their star player being injured and not able to be in the match. Switzerland always finds a way to do it. Honestly, I don't understand how it works.
5 out of 8 quarterfinalists. I'll take it.
Yeah, especially considering the matchups would have been different with the third place play. So that's what we predicted. Now, the way that it actually ended up was France is playing Morocco, which is a pretty interesting one. And then you've got Spain and Belgium, Norway and England, Argentina and Switzerland. Valaire, which one are you looking most forward to?
Oh, definitely. It would be usually Morocco, France, but for me, it's England, Norway, just because we saw Morocco, France last World Cup, and it was very good game. But Morocco and England, Norway is intriguing to me because Norway are on this heater, which is weird because they're a very cold country. But England look like they have overcame their usual, what do you call them? Bad things. There's a better word out there for that. Their usual downfalls. They have overcome those, whether it's attitude issues or clubs sort of beefing with each other within the national team. It seems like they've overcome that, and they have a good manager, which is not normal for England. So I do think I have become more of a believer of this team the longer this tournament has gone on. And I feel dirty saying this because I've always hated the English national team, but I'm starting to I don't know about like them. I'm starting not to hate them as much. And even those players who don't play for Arsenal. So it's really weird. I don't know. I'm having a weird feeling about this. But the same thing is happening with Norway. And Haaland is a guy I watch every week, and I hope he doesn't do anything good ever. But then at the World Cup, he's much easier to like when he's not playing for Man City, I think. And he's really good too. And I'm just excited for that match. I do think England will get the best of them, though.
I feel like if there's not 8 goals in that game, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed. I just don't think defensive wise, I think both teams are not the most terrific defensively. So there should be
Don't tell that
8
to
goals.
Brazil. They couldn't even score once against Norway. Guess who scored once against Norway? Iraq. So who is better? You tell me.
I mean, you got a good
Wait, no,
point.
they scored a pen. Sorry, I forgot about that late pen. But
You did.
open play. We scored an open play goal from against Norway. Okay.
But yeah, yeah, Norway, England for me. But France and Morocco obviously going to be an extremely good game, and I think France's biggest test so far in the tournament. Even having to play Norway, I think Morocco is a better team than Norway. They just overall, and I think they have very similar styles of play as well, which I think will make it a lot more fun just to kind of see the chess match happen on the field. And how does Elise dissect that team? How does Morocco line up? Is he good to go? Who knows at the moment? But I am excited to see how that chess match kind of plays out.
So, I mean, the easy one to say is England, Norway, but look, I'm going to take this from a very competitive standpoint. Now, we have
if you say Spain, Belgium, I'm quitting the show.
I'm not, but that's an interesting one. Here's the thing, guys. We have a golden boot draft. And our show and the other show are up against each other. Now, in theory, this is an individual thing. But let's be honest, there's a lot of show pride here.
Yes.
And the best thing that could possibly happen is Norway and France losing. As far as we're concerned.
I hate to tell you, but every single one of my players has been eliminated from the tournament.
Steven, you're not much help on this. Valeria, you're significantly more help. This is a one-man carry job by Lionel Messi.
This is close your eyes and hope Messi scores a hat trick every game from now on.
Oh man, I was so mad that Martinez had an assist instead of a goal because I have him on the team too. But
I have Alvarez, and he's been
and who's contributed more goals than a lot of other people who got drafted? Romelu Lukaku. So I'm just saying the difference right now between our show and their show is 1 goal.
Is it really?
Yes.
Dang, I can't wait to help out.
Steven, you've been almost no help. Honestly, both Stevens have done nothing as far as but
at least you're not alone.
But
I love you, Cavendish. I love you so much, man.
But so my intriguing matchup is Argentina because I need this Messi train to keep rolling for us to have a shot here.
That's a good one.
I do think Belgium, Spain is the most boring out of this list.
Oh God, it's gonna be so dreadful.
And part of it has to do with how Spain has played this tournament, where they've just kind of I don't know. It seems like they're on second gear always. And
yeah, I would agree.
Winning. And I think they don't need to get off of that to beat Belgium, so they probably won't. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see.
I do think that the thing that Belgium has, if it has a shot, is the fact that it is a very talented team, historically. These guys are older players, which means they've been in this round before, which means they've blown it in this round before. And maybe there's one last bit of magic that they have in them. And I do think that if Spain is not, if Spain is in second gear, there's every chance that Belgium can take advantage of it. And all of these matchups are actually very interesting for a lot of different reasons. This is as intriguing a group of 4 matches as you could get. Now, I don't think Argentina, Switzerland is going to be the most enjoyable of the 4, but the story around Messi in a U.S. World Cup is a really interesting, generational story that I just want to know how it ends. So there's a lot going on in this quarterfinals that is very, very, very intriguing.
I think, in Belgium, and even the way they played U.S., I mean, the fact that their manager had the stones to not start De Bruyne or Doku or Lukaku,
or take them out in a game they're down 2-0.
Yeah, just based on the way that play had been happening, maybe Belgium is actually good without them. Like maybe it's because we've seen them on the pitch for so long with Belgium, and then they actually have other players that actually play those positions. But who knows? Maybe Belgium is good, and
let's go AARP, vamos.
Is there any? What has been the most? I mean, obviously, out of our predictions, from the elimination standpoint, we missed 3 of them. We missed USA, Japan, and Brazil. Are any of those 3 more disappointing? Obviously, the US is going to be something that's extremely disappointing. I think Brazil is extremely disappointing as well.
I am
that
most
side.
disappointed in Japan because I'm tired of every tournament, everybody telling me how excited they are to see Japan, and then they do nothing. They do nothing. And they lose kind of in a bad way. They have one big result, and then they lose in a bad way. And I am not even disappointed in the loss to Brazil. It happens to the best of us. It's Brazil. The way they played in that game really showed zero progress of what they have been telling me that they are doing.
Do we think Japan messing up once they got into money time is directly tied to them choosing to train in Nashville?
Wow, that is tough. I will not comment on that. What I will comment on is the fact that
this is about the Titans and the Preds more than NSC, just to be clear.
Well, they keep telling us that like Japan is like advancing this program, and then what they do is they go and play 90 minutes like Paraguay against Brazil. And I'm like, if you just went and got at Brazil, and we saw that in the Norway game, and maybe Norway is a better team than Japan, but honestly, I can make an argument that both teams are somewhat equal. If you go and get Brazil and you actually play real soccer that Japan plays against other teams, instead they got scared and played like, in their shell against Brazil and just let Brazil come wave after wave after wave. And I think that's the most disappointing one for me, even though obviously Brazil is disappointing for not making it. But we kind of all knew this was going to happen with Brazil. You know what I mean? It's been like 3-4 World Cups now where they just haven't showed up really. And the U.S. is the U.S. I don't know.
This is Valera's Brazil fan coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is in a lot of, because like, did you see anybody who was like, yeah, Brazil's going to win the World Cup? Like, no one said that. You know what I mean? Like, no one barely predicted them in the semifinal even.
I would just like to say I would have liked to have seen a fully healthy Japan in this tournament. I do.
Also true.
I do think that there's a real what if when it comes to that Japan team in this tournament. Now, our predictions are what they are. Guys, who do you have in each of these games?
We're going for 7, and we're predicting we're going 8. We're going 8 for 8 here with this. Did I do that math right?
What do you mean 8 for 8?
We're getting all of our predictions correct from the quarterfinals on.
So 4.
That's
what are we going to predict? The loser and the winner?
Math is
no, I'm saying and the semifinals.
Oh, you want to do this now all the way to the semifinal? Okay.
I guess we do. Okay. We're going 4 for 4. No, we can do semifinals.
I feel like we should start with 4 and then go from there.
France, Morocco.
Yeah, France.
France.
Yeah, it's France.
Morocco's good, but I don't know if Sahibi starts.
I would feel better about Morocco's chances if France didn't just come out of a dogfight. I feel like you have to have one of those games, and I think France has had that game against Paraguay.
I would literally take Morocco against any other team that's left, even Argentina, but I wouldn't take them against France.
Yeah. We're all going to say Spain for Spain, Belgium. I know that.
Yeah, Spain.
Yeah.
Yes. Norway, England.
Steven's taking Norway. Yeah, Blair and I are taking England.
I actually am taking Norway. I'm not going to lie. I know it's shocking, but I'm not letting this happen where they make it to the final of the World Cup in our predictions.
And you know what? I will take Switzerland. 1, for funsies, and 2, because I am so freaking tired of this conspiracy theories about FIFA wants Messi to win and how the ref is wearing a certain color, which makes him. I'm tired of the conspiracy theories. I want Messi out of the tournament just so I don't have to hear about it anymore. And also, it's about time Switzerland does anything because I am so tired of them also having one good result and then crashing out immediately after.
What we really need to happen in that Argentina-Switzerland game is that Messi gets a hat trick and Bolo gets a hat trick, and then
Yes.
Lautaro Martinez scores. If we get that, I think we're good. I think we're winning the Golden Boot.
That's what we're looking at here. Yes.
That's what we need, but I'm going Argentina in that game.
I'm going, do you know what? Even though he doesn't support me in the same way, exactly, you don't know which way I'm going. You don't know if I'm going, you don't know which way, even though they don't support me in the same way. I'm going Switzerland. I am absolutely going Switzerland in that one. So I agree.
There's always one weird semifinalist, and there's certainly it's them or Norway has I don't think it's coming out of the other side.
Right.
I don't know,
So
man. Belgium is feeling good right now.
I mean, I would enjoy it being Belgium personally. Like, let's go, Big Rom.
Clay, we did some prop bets for the World Cup, just as a fun type of situation, and I'm assuming these have not gone extremely well, or have they gone well? Who knows?
You know what? It's interesting. It's interesting.
Please tell me I'm winning.
It's interesting. So I don't know what we were all thinking on this because we had some wild choices. So the first one was who's going to win the Golden Boot. As we all know, Valère chose Kai Havertz.
He would have if he continued, but Germany didn't help him.
That was an abject failure. And then Steven chose Lamine Yamal, which...
Okay, that's more of a failure. Kai Havertz has more goal than Yamal.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, but Lamine Yamal is still in the World Cup. So. And then I chose Harry Kane, who is in the mix. He's in the mix.
Who's in the mix?
You might actually win that one.
And then the next one was Golden Ball. Valère, tournament's not over. Your guy's definitely not winning Golden Ball. Do you know who you chose?
Did he pick Kai Havertz again?
Elise.
No.
Oh, who did I go for?
Rafinha.
I really felt I chose Elise. Maybe that was 615 predictions, the written ones.
Oh, that was the other show.
To be fair,
it wasn't a show. It was the thing we all did with like the article that Ben put out.
Yeah, well, you only put $2 on it, so no money lost there.
Yeah,
I did choose Jamal for that.
He's not getting that
$8, and then Steven chose Mbappe. Mbappe is in the mix on that. Definitely,
very good shout for that one.
Unfortunately, Steven put $2 on it.
Oh man!
All right, now this one is interesting because you both are out of the money on it no matter what, which is choose a team to win a shootout. So Valère chose Austria, and they did not win a shootout. Steven, you chose Croatia.
Oh, I know. And it because of a stupid sensor in a ball detecting a piece of hair touching a person. The dumbest thing to happen, by the way. The dumbest technology in the world. I guarantee you if the weight of that sensor was not in the ball itself, it wouldn't have even hit his hair. So I blame FIFA.
Anyway, so Steven did not get a shootout win from Croatia. And I chose England, which could still very much happen.
Yeah, it's possible.
And then the last one. Now, this one was interesting. Choose a player from a team that is not going to win the World Cup to score a goal. Now, I chose Christian Pulisic.
He did not score.
Steven, you did get this one right. You chose Mo Salah.
Yeah.
And you put $5 on it.
That's right.
Valère, this is spiking the football. Valère, you absolutely nailed this. You chose an Iraqi player, a team who scored 1 goal.
Yes! Amen. Sam, baby.
So, Valère, you put $8 on it. I'm going to allow you to have your victory lap right here.
Thank you. This is ball knowledge. You guys don't know. It's our second ever World Cup goal. And I got the goal scorer right. And it's the only time I celebrated in all 3 Iraq games that I went to. So,
I was afraid of saying his name correctly. You go ahead and say it.
Amen, Sin.
Hussein. Okay.
Yeah.
I had the amen right. I just wasn't sure I'd get the last part right.
Hussein is how most English speakers would pronounce it, and that's fine too.
I knew that wasn't correct, and we have someone who speaks Arabic who can say it
Thank
right.
you.
So.
I appreciate that.
Wait, what about the other one?
I'll get there in a second.
Oh, sorry.
You put a ridiculous amount of money on it for not even knowing what it was. So anyway, Valaire's in first place right now with $8.
Let's go.
The last one was choose the game that Iraq gets its first point in. And Iraq got 0 points. So Blair and I both chose Norway. Steven, you put $10 on France.
And honestly, I was closer. So I will take it.
No, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
It was 3-0. It wasn't a 3-0 that
Yeah,
they beat
no, it was 4-1. So technically,
I thought it was 5-1. Sorry.
No, that's Senegal. Maybe that's 5-0.
Oh, that one. Okay. Sorry. Gotcha.
I messed up myself. They're just in my brain.
Here's the funniest part. Here's the funniest part about this, Steve. Even if Mbappe gets golden ball, which you're the only one to choose that, even if Mbappe gets golden ball, you only put $2 on it, which means that you would finish on $7. And Valaire put $8 on the Iraq goal score.
Yeah, so my strategy wasn't great for the prop bets. And normally my strategy is pretty sound. But unfortunately, this time it wasn't.
I'm just glad that this tradition of me dominating prop bets continues on.
Valaire, if Harry Kane is the Golden Boot winner, I win.
Also, if we talk about last year, I dominated. So
yeah, and how many times have I won? Oh yeah, 5 in a row, whatever. 4 in a row.
It's canon that Joel won last year anyway, Steven. So moving on.
I am like the Real Madrid teams from the 60s, fully corrupt.
Cool, bro.
State team of a dictator. I mean, what are we doing here?
I think they won 5 Champions Leagues in a row, so I was one off of that. I think
Real Madrid once got out of debt selling like a little plot of land to the state for like a crazy amount of money, and that
sounds like something Chelsea would do.
No, Chelsea sells it to itself.
Right. That's the difference there.
Yeah, get it right. Jeez.
Just because Real Madrid was selling it to the monarchy in Spain, that means they're different, even though it's royal.
What about Real Monarchs, though? Have they been sold yet?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
What about the Sacramento Monarchs of the WNBA, RAP?
Speaking of awkward pauses before getting back into different conversations.
Why isn't it Sacramento Queens, though? Like, they have the Kings.
There is no Sacramento WNBA team, but there used to be one called the Monarchs.
There needs to be one that's called Queens.
Thanks, Flair.
Thank you.
Moving on.
What about, like, I guess they can do that.
Why are we still doing this?
I don't know. Thanks for watching or whatever. Steven, you do this part.
Yeah, I've been waiting to. I've been trying to segue for the past 5 minutes. Speaking of segue, let's segue to the next segment where we talk about Major League Soccer. Yay! Major League Soccer. It's coming back, and it's coming back soon. And we're going to do that next.
Back, no tournament.
And no tournament. Oh, God, we have the League's Cup coming. Okay, anyways, we're going to talk about all this MLS stuff next, right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer, at Pharma Soccer, of course, on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. As I mentioned, 615soccer.com. Be a part of what we got going on there. Super fun, super joyful to be a part of. Great conversation happening there. Also, pharmasoccer.com for merchandise. And you have the time, and you'll need it because MLS is back. And now it's time to prepare for MLS coming back. Starting Thursday next week, I believe, is when the MLS schedule starts back up. Which, by the way, they're starting back up with a Thursday night matchup next week.
Just like college football, baby.
And it's just before the World Cup even ends. Don't even ask questions. I don't know what's going on.
Just don't even ask questions.
Yeah. I've given up on
It would be really funny. Let me guess. Let me scroll down and see when Miami plays. Oh, wait. Of course they don't play. That's funny how that works out. But yeah, MLS is back next week. You guys excited? I'm excited.
Yeah, very much so.
Do you guys remember that our team is in first place, by the way? Has anybody forgotten this?
In first place, and we'll be coming back with some healthy players who weren't healthy at the end of the break, So like,
also true.
Or entering the break, I should say. I'm actually very excited. I started getting questions from friends and stuff like the last maybe week or so about when's the next. I think this tied into a little bit of the World Cup stuff. When's the next NSC match? Like, very excited to get back to NSC, and I think we'll start to see a lot more of that now that the US is out as well. And I'm very, very much looking forward to being back at Geodis Park. I'm so happy it's a home game actually coming out of this. Like it, and
it's Atlanta, so guaranteed 3 points too. So,
well, we'll see on that. But yes, it does seem that way.
I mean, have you seen Atlanta this season?
I think it's really. I'm really excited to see if Nashville can pick up from where they left off. Because I think if they can pick up from where they left off now healthy, because they weren't healthy going into the World Cup, if they can pick up where they left off now healthy, it could be a very, very, very fun experience to have a few weeks of this before we go into the Leagues Cup and another weird break.
And by the way, a fourth Nashville player has been added to the MLS All-Star roster for this year, and that is one Sam Surridge. So now Nashville has Brian Schwalke, they have Andy Nahar, they have Hani Mukhtar, and now they have Sam Surridge, all four of whom will be participating in the MLS All-Star on July 29th in Charlotte, which is also coming up very soon. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's in, oh my gosh, that's like mid-July, is it?
Yeah.
Is it end July? I don't know which one, but it's fine.
It's
July
right before
29th.
even.
Oh my gosh. Here's my dream. And we'll preview the Atlanta match next week. I want to beat Atlanta 6-0. And then Atlanta fires Tata Martino after the entire World Cup break, just after a match against Nashville. That is my dream, really.
I don't think that would happen because there's nothing to win with in Atlanta right now.
Also true.
I'm also excited to see all the changes that are going to happen in terms of transfers. Sorry, not changes. When you look at the window opening, especially after the World Cup, and these teams are going to look different. They've already started to look different. Some announcements have already been made. Nothing for Nashville yet. Nothing substantial for Nashville yet. But I think it's going to look a little different than what we left it as.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I just want to see Hani Mukhtar continue to do to Atlanta United what he's done to Atlanta United for the entirety of his career in Nashville. And hopefully that's what we'll see. But we're going to talk more about Atlanta next episode. Is there anything, I'm trying to think, is there anything that we've actually missed in terms of NSC news the last few weeks?
NSC or MLS?
Yeah, NSC.
There's a rumor of a center back, Mikhail Caicedo from Ecuador, being loaned from there to Nashville.
The best Caicedo in international football, obviously.
Easy.
That's what I got, guys.
We'll bring you the latest on Nashville SC. I'm sorry, I have been pretty much unplugged from that world, so I'll get back in. And next week, I promise, I will be on my game for Nashville SC.
Yeah,
mind you, before the episode was recorded, he was yelling at me specifically saying it's his job, but he's been unplugged. I see. Interesting how that works out.
I will say this, just on a personal note, because while Japan was at the training facility during the World Cup, the team, they went to Salt Lake City for a week, but they were training at Curry Ingram, where my wife is working, and she got very excited to tell me which NSC players were at training that day.
Oh, nice.
So
Was
I'm
Ahmed
going to miss those
training?
updates.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. I don't really have anything to predict either.
Well, we already did that. So plugs and let's get out of here.
I'll go first at
Yeah.
PH Steven HD on all of my stuff.
Okay, add Valer Shabello and all of my stuff.
I just thought it was weird that Valera was promoting plugs. Anyway, at
Are we
Clara
just
Soul.
doing deja vu for all of our jokes today?
Well, I was more making a turkey reference, but anyway.
They still have those at pharmacies.
Anyway, at Clara Soul on Instagram and Twitter.
On all
and Nashville Soccer Archive and Kicking It 615. You know, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk around pay to play and academy stuff. It's way more complicated than anybody wants to give it credit for being. But what you can do right now to support free soccer for children in Nashville, Tennessee, is you can go to Kicking It 615. Isn't that right, Valer?
Yes, we are currently on a break, but yes, that would be ki615.org. You can get involved and help us.
Yeah. Hey, they may be on break, but that money ain't on break. Go ahead and send some in.
It is not. Yes.
I lost the contact. All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. Of course, next week we will be back with almost normal coverage, but we also will preview Atlanta, talk more MLS news if any of it comes through. Thank you so much for listening to this. We appreciate it. Hope you all have a great rest of your week.